computer. Okay, so I'm going to mute you guys if that's okay. And if you have any questions, you can unmute. But today we're going to be talking about the power of mirror work. We're going to talk about what mirror work is. We're going to talk about why we should care about it. We're going to talk about maybe kind of introducing our clients to this sort of work. This is something that I was introduced through Louise Hay. I feel like, again, just like Emotions Trapped in the Body, Louise Hay was the OG of a lot of really cool things. And mirror work is something that it's interesting because Heather and I were talking this morning. There are lots of times where I will go into a bathroom or I will do something and I do not look up and look myself in the face. I never watch myself in the mirror. I never look at myself in the mirror. And I don't believe that it's for any particular reason, but maybe it is. And maybe that's something that I need to explore. So I feel like in the vein of, kind of talking about some coaching tools and things that we can do for our clients. I think this is one of those things that I do kind of give my clients who maybe don't have great self-connection or great self-esteem, or, we reject our bodies because we want it to look different. We think that our bodies should look like someone else's, or we wish that it looked like someone else's. And so we don't connect into who we truly are because we're so busy wishing that we were someone else. And I think that mirror work is a great way to maybe push past some of that shame or fear or guilt, to really just accept that we are who we are. And all of the pieces of us are beautiful and they make up the tapestry of who we are, and that we should accept that more. And sometimes that's not always easy, especially because we're in a world surrounded by touched up magazines and celebrities on TV that are doing Botox and all those things. People don't just look perfect and amazing like the Kardashians by accident. They're doing a lot of work to get that way. And that's okay. There's no judgment there, but we compare ourselves sometimes to those people. And that's just not a fair comparison. And I think we really need to be a little bit kinder to ourselves. We definitely need to be kinder to ourselves. I know I do too. I don't consider myself to be a super self-conscious person, but I think there are definitely times where I am. And there's definitely times where I definitely measure myself against others and decide whether I'm measuring up. And we just can't do that. Other people are on their own journey and they've had their own experiences, and no one has the same frequency as me and has experienced the same things as me and has the same energy as me. So I'm the only one that has this unique life and frequency. And so when we compare ourselves to other people, it's just not a good comparison. No one is ever going to be the same. We're all different in so many minute and big ways. So, mirror work can sometimes really just keep us connected into our own selves. So I find that sometimes I need to remind myself of who I am and what I've accomplished. And I can't look outside of myself for that validation. It has to come from within, from me. So mirror work is strangely confronting, undeniably intimidating, and a little embarrassing, but it is also profoundly healing. Of all the inner work practices, mirror work is one of the simplest and most powerful, and all you need is a mirror. Mirror work is a method developed by Louise Hay as a way of getting in touch with our inner self. The primary purpose of mirror work is to develop self-love, self-care, and a more meaningful relationship with others. Simply looking in the mirror for a certain amount of time each day is simply looking in the mirror. I typed that thinking in my head. I went, simply, but really it is as simple as that if we can just get over it, right? So simply looking in the mirror for a certain amount of time each day and gently talking to yourself, you can foster a more compassionate and forgiving connection to yourself. And I think sometimes we all need a little bit of self-forgiveness, right? So here's the challenge of mirror work. You're supposed to go sit and stand in front of a mirror in your house for 5 minutes. Simply stare at yourself and hold eye contact. That's all you have to do. That's it. How do you feel? If you're like most people, you will feel uncomfortable. You may feel awkward, unsettled, embarrassed, emotional, or You may have heavy feelings such as self-loathing or criticism. Why does this happen? So Louise Hay writes in her book, Mirror Work, the mirror reflects back to you the feelings you have about yourself. It makes you immediately aware of where you are resisting and where you are open and flowing. It clearly shows you what thoughts you will need to change if you want to have a joyous, fulfilling life. In other words, in front of the mirror, there is no hiding. In front of the mirror, we catch an intimate and sometimes painful glimpse into the relationship that we have with self, with ourselves. Mirror work can make us feel initially uneasy because it exposes our inner critic in plain daylight. Suddenly, everything we feel about ourselves that we might not be aware of comes to the surface. And if we haven't developed a compassionate relationship with ourselves, we could be prone to believing all of the nastiness whispered by our inner critic. It's easy enough to do. I find myself doing it maybe less and less as I get older, but definitely, that voice is there sometimes for sure. And I will say, teaching has a huge, profound way of sometimes I think making you feel like you're not good enough. I feel like there are some days where I'm teaching and maybe there's not a lot of interaction or there's not a lot of response from the people that you're teaching. And I step away from that class and go, ugh, I don't know that I did a great job connecting with those students or that I did a great job conveying what it was that I wanted to convey. It happened yesterday, actually. And I went to lunch with kind of this icky feeling like, ugh, I feel like I didn't bring my A game. And at lunch, I just really had to just be very mindful to just let that go because the rest of the day was going to be what it was going to be. But I feel like there was definitely some judgment. Like I got in the car and I was just like, we were headed over to lunch and I just felt this in my solar plexus, like this rock that was in there. And I was totally just self-judging that there wasn't a lot of interaction, but sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with me. Sometimes it has to do with the energy of the space, or maybe everybody who drove in that morning had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, like some people did, and they were tired and, they didn't know anybody else in the room. Sometimes it's not about me at all, but my brain certainly made it all about me. And, that's kind of where I have to do a little bit more work on these things as well. And that doesn't happen to me too often, thankfully, but there are definitely times where I expect something to go a certain way and it doesn't, but that's my expectation. And sometimes I have to really also focus on maybe not having so many expectations when I go into a situation, because that really opens things up to just be how they're going to be. And when I have expectations, I'm trying to shove everything into that box that they need to fit in. So let's see. Another reason why mirror work can make us uncomfortable is that it exposes vulnerable parts of our inner selves. Most notably, mirror work can bring us face to face with the child within us. We all possess an inner child. It is one of the many archetypes that composes our personality structures. When looking into the mirror, it's not unusual to feel waves of sadness wash over you. Looking in the mirror can be upsetting at times, but these feelings point to deeper work that is happening. Simply gazing at yourself in the mirror and comforting your inner child can be a tremendously healing practice. The more emotional you feel, the more emotional purging and transformation are happening. So I think inner child work is super important, especially for some of us who had some trauma when we were kids, when we were young, those inner child that we had to, maybe didn't get the voice that they thought they needed, or didn't get the attention or the love, or had trauma, whatever it is. That inner child work is something that is kind of like shadow work. If we don't ever address that, it is something that is always there, no matter how much work we do. And it resurfaces like those somatic memories that stay in our body, those emotions, and they can get triggered at any time. Even if we think we've dealt with it in our heads, we haven't dealt with it in other ways. So just something to think about. So mirror work as a portal into your soul. As the old saying goes, the eyes are the mirror to the soul. Mirror work gives you direct access to that deeper part of you. But first, the inner work must happen. Connecting with your soul doesn't always happen immediately during mirror work, although it can. Typically, you will need to work through your insecurities and self-resentments by practicing self-love before you can feel and sense your deeper inner presence emerge. But how do you know you're reconnecting with your soul? There's really no right answer. It's going to be a different answer for all of us. And I feel like these things come up all the time. I feel like in class, people always ask questions and I'm always going, well, I can't answer that for you. You have to connect in and answer that for yourself. Or my client experienced this in a sound session. What do you think that means? I can't answer that question for you or your client. Your client has to connect into, with this energy work and this healing work. Sometimes it's not up for us to answer those questions for others. We have to answer those questions for ourselves. So, I think that's one of the things also. It's that connection. Let's see. There is no right answer. Of course, it is different for everyone. But for me personally, it emerges when my face softens, my eyes become warmer and more compassionate. Maybe a slight smile enters my face and a lighter form of energy fills my body. Feeling drawn inward is another sign that you're reconnecting with your soul as well. So it's interesting. When I start leading a group sound bath, I always ask people to bring their awareness from out to bring that awareness in. And when I was putting this all together, I thought, oh, I'm going to start using those words, that when you draw that energy inward, you are really reconnecting with your soul, with who you truly are. And I think that's actually really beautiful. As magical or mystical as it may sound, mirror work as a portal to your soul is quite natural and can leave you with a feeling that you have returned home to the truest, most whole, and wisest part of yourself. So we're going to kind of go through a step-by-step guide on how you can do some mirror work and how this can start. So there's no official methods for doing mirror work. I think Louise Hay kind of put together her own little method for doing things, but I think just like sound healing, we talk about if someone is experiencing deep trauma or, when we start doing this self-work, you want to start small, right? So you're not going to stand naked in front of the mirror for 10 minutes and force yourself to stare at yourself. I think eventually, according to a lot of the things that I've read about mirror work, eventually standing completely naked in front of the mirror and staring at yourself and accepting every part of you is where we want to get to. Can we do that? Exactly. Sherry maybe can do that right off the bat, I think. But most of us can't do that right off the bat. There are some people who can't even stare at themselves in a mirror for even 5 minutes with clothes on in a bathroom with nobody around. So be aware that if this is something that you do want your clients to work on or you want to work on, start small, honestly, because if we start to become if we try to do too much at once, it can be too much at once, okay? So I recommend doing this work for at least 21 days. And Louise Hay really dictated this 21 days, but I think 21 to 30 days, it takes 30 days to create a habit, right? So I think 21 to 30 days is a good way to start. But you can tailor this to your own needs and your client's needs, depending on how deep the issues are you are working through. And it may require more time. So listed, I'm going to give you some fundamental principles of mirror work that you might like to keep in mind if you do decide you want to create your own practice of this. So use affirmations that feel authentic to you. And we're going to talk about those in just a minute. But affirmations, positive present tense statements that bring us into a certain feeling, they help to shift our energy. So we're going to use affirmations. When you first start out, you're going to dedicate at least 5 minutes every day to this work. Do mirror work in private so that you are not disturbed and in a space where you won't feel you need to keep your guard up. This is really important. If you feel like somebody's going to come walking in the room, you're not going to be able to relax 100% into this work. So do it at a time of day where no one's going to be home and no one's going to disturb you. Do it in a place where you can lock the door maybe and no one's going to be banging on the door trying to get into the bathroom or wherever it is. But that's really important. It is okay to feel emotional. Let yourself feel whatever comes up. We talk about this in almost everything we do. We need to stop stifling our emotions, because those emotions get stuck and they just compound on each other, and they just make it worse for us. It makes it harder for us to then work through all of the things that we need to work through. If we can just start expressing our emotions when they come up and letting them flow and letting them be okay and letting them come out, we will be happier, healthier, more in the flow people. And then keep a journal where you can record any notable experiences. Journaling, I think, is one of the coaching tools that every single client should be doing when they leave your sessions. I think journaling is something that we should all be doing. And I'm putting my hand up to say that I'm being hypocritical right here, because I do not journal. It is something that doesn't come naturally to me, writing or typing or just free flowing my thoughts. But it's really something that, we're coming up on the new year, kind of. We're in October, so we're getting close. I feel like for the new year, when my schedule kind of evens out, and journaling is definitely something that I'm going to be doing more, because I think there is a lot of power there. I know there's a lot of power there. I just don't use that power. So definitely keep a journal, because sometimes when we don't think we've come far, we look back on our journals and we go, oh boy, okay, I started out at 5 minutes and could barely look at myself. Now I'm up to 8 minutes, and at least I can stare at myself for those 8 minutes and have some sort of self-acceptance and self-compassion. And that's actually really important. So you definitely want to commit yourself. Mirror work creates the deepest changes when it is done consistently over a long period of time. I do recommend dedicating a minimum of 5 minutes a day, with 10 to 20 minutes being the ideal of what we want to work up to. So we start at 5 minutes, and maybe we work up to 6 and 7. Maybe we do it at minute increments, but we eventually want to work up to 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes. But I would say 20 is where we really want to be at. Think about the best time of day that you can do this. Mirror work is flexible. It works around your schedule. Most people like doing this work in the early morning and late at night before going to bed. You can also do mirror work during the day as you pass mirrors. If there are no mirrors in your workplace, you can always use that selfie option on your phone. Just find a private spot to do this exercise while you're at work, if that's when you have the time to do it. Find a place where you won't be disturbed, put your little selfie camera on, and stare at yourself for however long it takes. But I do recommend doing it at home. And it doesn't have to be early morning or late at night. There's no magical hour to do mirror work. It's just whenever you have the time and the privacy to do so. Affirmations counteract the negative self-talk that runs through our heads. They also help reprogram our minds. When we use affirmations, we are affirming something that we like about ourselves or something positive we wish to give ourselves. You can create your own spontaneously based on how you feel when you look in the mirror. So for example, if you feel ugly in that moment of time, you can affirm to yourself, I have a beautiful heart and soul, or whatever feels most authentic to you. When creating your own affirmations, please ensure that you keep them phrased in a positive way and in the present. The unconscious mind does not understand negatives and will translate any negatively phrased affirmation in the reverse. So for example, instead of saying, I am worthless, I am worthy, say, I am worthy. Or instead of, I will not be mean to myself, say, I treat myself with kindness. Also, keep in mind that the point of affirmations is not to sugarcoat how you feel. If you genuinely can't say to yourself in the mirror, I love you, then don't do it. It's forcing. And we don't really want to force anything. This is just like manifestation. When we really focus on manifesting something and we try to force it, we just end up getting that energy stuck. You have to just let things free flow. And if it feels like you're trying to say an affirmation that feels like sand in your mouth, or it feels like you're really having to dig down to say that, then don't. Try to find another affirmation that feels more easy. The point is not to be disingenuous. The aim is to offer sincere love to yourself. So if I love you feels too difficult, focus on something more mild, such as I am learning to love and accept you. You can also look up affirmations to use if you can't or don't want to think of your own. There are many lists online that you can find, but here are a few that you might want to try. I am proud of myself. I am beautiful. I love how thoughtful, caring, and sincere I am. I am worthy of love. I am enough. I am exactly who I need to be in this moment. I choose myself. I am whole. I am fierce and strong. I am open and receptive. I am courageous. I am doing my best. I believe in myself. Repeat your affirmation with feeling. So you're standing in the mirror, you found your affirmation, feel into that affirmation. Just don't say it as just words that you're saying. And maybe when you first start this practice, it is going to be just words that you're saying, but we really want to connect into the feelings of that affirmation. So if you're feeling, I am beautiful, really feel that feeling of beauty. Look at yourself with the eyes of someone who knows and thinks you are beautiful, because that really does make a difference. Affirmations are best done out loud, but if you feel more comfortable saying them in your head, that's okay. Repeat your affirmation at least 10 times, but repeat it as many times as you feel you need and want. The more you repeat it with sincerity, the deeper impact it will make. Louise Hay actually recommends working up to 100 times. So what I do is, and I've only gotten up to maybe 10 times, and then I have to stop. I have my mala beads. They're 108, right? So I feel like instead of doing a chant or a mantra, I will do my affirmations while counting my mala beads, and eventually I will get up to 108 times and make Louise Hay proud, because I will do 8 more times than she recommends. But just remember that 100 times will not be possible for people at first. It just feels too daunting. It's too much. So shoot for a realistic number and then start from there. I really do think 5 times. We're doing this work for 5 minutes to start out with. Repeat your affirmation 5 times and work up from there. When saying our affirmations, it's important to look at ourselves directly in the eyes. So you're staring at the mirror. I'm going to stare at my screen. You're going to say these affirmations out loud to yourself in the mirror. And maybe you don't even look at the rest of your body to start out with. You're just looking at yourself. That's a good first step. Because I will say, even staring at myself in the mirror, I tried it this morning just to see how comfortable I am with this. It's hard. It feels invasive. It feels intrusive. It feels, I don't know, it felt very weird to me. And that was definitely an indication that this is something that I really do need to work on for myself. And I have to say, I was really surprised by that observation of myself. So I learned something about myself this morning because of this course that I was going to be teaching today. So that's kind of cool. When saying your affirmation, again, it's important to look yourself directly in the eyes. You should also use your own name, as this sends a powerful message to your unconscious. So you might say, Becky, I am whole. I love you, Becky. Becky, you are doing your best. I believe in you, Becky. So you definitely want to use your name as well, because you're owning that. It does have power. Embrace any emotions that arise. It's normal and okay to feel upset or to feel strong emotions. If you feel you need to cry, let yourself cry. You are releasing old ways of being, and this is powerful work. You may also wish to give yourself a hug, which is amazingly therapeutic. We feel emotional because the old frozen pain within us that is built up through the years is bubbling to the surface. Sometimes the emotions we feel doing mirror work are from childhood, particularly if they are super intense. If this is the case, Comfort your inner child by acknowledging it within you as you look at the mirror. You may wish to say such words as, "It's okay, I see you. I understand. I am here for you." It seems strange because you're talking to yourself, but this is we want to be doing this inner work. We want to be talking to ourselves and comforting ourselves. It's how we really end up making that big connection with ourselves. We don't always need to seek out comfort from other people. We really can get that comfort from ourselves. And then record your discoveries. It is so important that during the course of your mirror work that you keep a journal. You don't need to write long paragraphs about your experiences. If that doesn't suit you, doesn't suit me. I'm a bullet point journaler, but I've now convinced myself that I'm a bullet point journaler. So I'm going to stop stop that story that I don't journal and I can't journal and I can only bullet point, because now I've just convinced myself that that's the only way that I can journal. So I'm going to try to be the journaler that I feel like I really do want to be and need to be. So it doesn't have to be long paragraphs. Just simply write a sentence or two if that feels more like you. Record how you feel, even if that means expressing how silly you feel, but also try to record what came up for you, even if it was just embarrassment. Because if we're embarrassed looking at ourselves in the mirror, I think we need to explore why. We are who we are, and we're walking around in these beautiful bodies. We are it. This is us. It's so frustrating to me when I look in the mirror and I feel embarrassed. What is that message that I'm sending to myself when I look at myself in the mirror and I feel embarrassment or disgust or shame or any of those things? I wonder why I have a hard time healing my own body. But if I'm looking in the mirror and I can't even accept who I am, then why would my body want to work for me? I'm kind of almost sending it the signal that it's an embarrassment and something that I don't want to be walking around in. But when I really connect in there and I really think about, this is it, this is me. And I should really be happy that this body has taken me where it's taken me. And I'm in California now and I'm teaching, and I just came from Sedona, and I'm doing all these amazing, awesome things with this body that comes along with me. And yet I still feel embarrassed by it. And I'm not saying that that's weird. I think I'm not chastising anyone, but this is where we're at. And for me, I just circle around on this hamster wheel of that just seems crazy to me that I could feel that way about myself when I'm out here doing all these amazing things. So there's definitely a disconnect there for me. And, mirror work, journaling, these are things I'm going to really embrace because I think I need that work myself too. You don't need to write in your journal every time you do mirror work, but I really do encourage you to do so. I know that sometimes if we're doing it for 5 minutes a day, maybe a couple days a week, nothing new comes up. Maybe you're just, okay, I've done this week. I feel like I've worked through some stuff. Then maybe in your journal, just put, nothing new came up, just so that and you can look back and see that you have done this for 5 minutes every day, and that these things are, that you are doing the work, you're still putting it in. So, have a good day. I'll see you later. Heather's heading off to the studio to do some teaching. But I definitely want to make sure that you ensure that you write down any notable experiences, any new emotions, thoughts, discoveries, or breakthroughs that you have doing this work. By keeping this journal, you will be able to track your evolution and your progress. So, this isn't super complicated work. So mirror work is deceptively simple, but tremendously empowering. So much healing can be done by simply looking at yourself in the mirror and expressing those self-love affirmations. And affirmations are the key to this work. One of the most amazing benefits of mirror work is how it impacts your relationships. By learning how to love yourself more, life becomes more harmonious, your connections with others can improve significantly, and self-love does equal love for others. We're also bringing our heart space into cohesion with who we really are. And I think with all of these mindful practices that we talk about all the time, and most of us are walking that mindful walk every day and talking that mindful talk every day and helping people reach those goals, I think that self-love really does equal that heart cohesion. So I think that's really beautiful. So, this isn't a complicated thing. This isn't something that's going to take hours and hours, to kind of go through and learn about. But Sherry and Pam, I'd love to hear your thoughts on mirror work, and if this is something that you guys have ever done, or something that you feel like you want to do, or something that you feel like someone else who maybe needs to give it a go.
I'll share. Hi. It just brought me back to my years of teaching, because we would have the conversations in the classroom, and this is with first graders. And so many of the children were saying that they got themselves ready in the morning and no one really talked to them. They knew what they needed to do and how to get out the door to where they needed to be. So the song Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. Do you know that song?
Yes.
Okay, it's going to become now your new background for this
100%,
idea.
100%.
And I had some mirrors in my classroom, and I would just show them, look at yourself in the mirror when you're at home brushing your teeth, washing your face, and say, I am kind. I am smart. People like me. I'm going to have a good day. And then we started passing the mirrors around and watching the children. So it's true, because it did show a new way for them. And, when they would come to school the next day after we would practice these things and say, Mrs. Littleton, I told myself I was going to have a really great day today.
Aww.
And I'm like, yeah. And who else makes the decisions on how you're going to react and behave and things you're going to do or not do? It's you.
Yeah.
So talk to yourself. So there is truth behind it. And it is, you and I, Sherry, anybody else that might listen to this later, you start to see maybe reflections of your ancestors in the mirror.
For sure. And, I think that's beautiful.
So it just opens up, it opens up so much, and there is so much truth behind it. But, anybody that has younger people in their life, train them now to look in the mirror and say good things about themselves, and then they won't be maybe having as many issues later.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was watching this YouTube video the other day of this dad who his daughter was saying that some of her friends in school were saying that she was ugly, and he made her stand on the sink and stare herself in the mirror and tell herself that she was beautiful and that she was kind and she was worthy. And I just thought that was so beautiful. I think, unfortunately, some of us grew up in a time where we didn't have time for that shit. I feel like, there was no time for emotions. There was no time for, there was no time to even process through. I feel like, my mom certainly wasn't doing those things on purpose, like, suck it up, we have places to go or whatever, but it's just kind of how it happened. But I don't remember anybody saying to me, look yourself in the mirror. Like, you come home from school and you say, oh, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, okay, well, suck it up, or pull up your big girl pants and we got to go, or whatever it is. I don't remember a lot of time to maybe process through those things when we were kids. So I think it's really cool that you did that. And I hope that we're doing that more and more in schools and with kids, because I think we need to give these kids time to feel their emotions and to also look at themselves and know that they're worthy. Because I think, I don't know that anybody ever said those words to me, you're worthy, or you're, and again, I knew I was loved, but there's difference there, right? I just don't think that was something that back in the day we really focused on, was those things. So I think, I hope that we're becoming a more conscious species of people that is seeing that if we don't nurture our kids in this way, we grow up to be people who have to do all this massive self-work just to feel like we're worthy people in the world. And I think there's a better way that we can do that. And how cool and expansive could these kids be if they don't have to do all this work that we had to do to peel back all these layers to find our worthiness and our true path? How cool would it be if these kids could just start out wide open, knowing that they're amazing and they're all different, but that's cool. And, you know, they can move on to start to explore other things that we never got the chance to explore. I think that's pretty cool. So I love that. I love that. Awesome. Because it does work with kids sometimes too, right? I mean, that's just how it goes.
And we're all kids. So, you know, when you walk by the mirror, hey, 100%. I see you. I am kind.
Yeah.
People like me.
Yeah. Have you ever done mirror work yourself?
I have.
Okay. Yeah. It's a little uncomfortable at first, right? I mean, you're standing. I feel like when I do it, my first thought is, this is silly. And then I go, okay, stop that. It's not silly. But it really, my first thought is, why are you staring at yourself in a mirror? This is silly. But, you know, Louise Hay really does recommend that as you work up to those 20 minutes, you eventually do stand in front of the mirror naked and look at your whole self. I don't know. You know, I feel like I've given this work to a few clients that I feel like really, really needed it, and they just could never get there. I think it's something that really does take some resolve, and it really does take that committing to it every day. And, you know, sometimes we're not ready. I think this work will come really back to us when we're ready. But,
sure.
You know, I hope that it's, if anybody watches this recording and they've never heard of mirror work before, I hope that someone tries it and then it changes how they feel about themselves, because it is really powerful. And Louise Hay, she knew stuff. She knew things, that Louise Hay. She wasn't just a pretty face. She knew stuff. So yeah. What about you, Sherry? Have you ever done any mirror work or anything like that? Hang on. Let me unmute you. I don't. Okay. There we go.
Yes, I am very familiar with Louise Hay for many, many years, and I have done mirror work for many years, and I have encouraged mirror work with other people, and absolutely understand that initially when you come in face to face, it's your ego.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can understand that and label it and say, hello there.
Yes. It is true. Yeah.
It's that initial protector that wants to say, oh no, we can't look there.
Yeah.
And then that layer and then the 5 minutes goes away, and the 6 minutes turns into going from that physical layer into the eyes and deep into your like feeling emotional layer. So I feel that I've correlated it to really those you know, subtle like body energies that we have.
For sure.
And, you know, she was so amazing because her story, like, she didn't even you know, introduce Hay House until like she was in her late 50s, almost 60. You know, she has such an incredible story. Everybody has not really followed her or understood her story and the impact that she had even prior to, you know, Hay House.
Yes.
Yeah, her backstory is pretty cool too. So yes, again, we go back to 20 minutes is really peeling back the final layer of vulnerability and that sheath of saying, I surrender completely to who I am, to everything that I have and everything that has been. And, you know, being able to, what we teach is get back to that core of who we are, the essence, the authentic, the true being, you know. That's just really, to me, what it's kind of all about and what it has been for me.
For sure. And, for some people, 20 minutes could take a long time to get to. It takes time, right? It feels like it should be simple, and that, it's just staring at myself for 20 minutes in the mirror. But I will say, I tried for 5 minutes today just to stare myself, just my face in the mirror. And I will say 5 minutes felt like a lifetime. It was like, oh my gosh, this is the longest 5 minutes of my life. So I definitely feel like I have some work to do there.
What's so amazing is, all of our, teaching and practices of mindfulness come into play, because initially that standing in front of the mirror is that monkey mind,
Yes.
It's that monkey mind that really tells us that, I spoke with someone yesterday about this, it's like, we either have a trained mind or an untrained mind, period. And it goes in every moment. We really want to be able to say that we have moments where, we have a good steady flow of feeling in the moment and feeling our intention and our focus being able to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's the practice. So the mirror work too brings you to that present moment to, again, be able to recognize with inquiry to say, oh, wow, this is like the person that is really running in my head.
Yes.
On a daily basis. Like, this is really like the unconscious me that's really going along, that's running the show. Like, what the,
Yeah.
So that's why it's good stuff, because no one said it's easy. It's being, but what, I even said with someone I spoke to yesterday, it's being able to commune and be with that side of us.
Yeah.
Moment and recognize that side of us without trying to push it down, without trying to make it go away, without trying to drown it down with music, without trying to, do whatever the vices that we do. If we come, like Tara Brach says, come to tea with Mara.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And I think it is also, like you said, recognizing that I was having a hard time staring at myself in the mirror for 5 minutes, but accepting that also, and not letting that be another thing that adds up on the pile of things that I now have to go, oh, you can't even do that. Right. It's trying not to judge the experience, letting it come up and being more curious about what's coming up instead of going, oh, well, I can't even do this right, and just giving up on it. Because I think, that monkey mind, that unconscious mind sometimes definitely will then take it and go, oh, you can't even do this for 5 minutes, So it is definitely going, okay, this is coming up for a reason, and I accept it all, and show me what it is that I need to see. And, let's start from there.
So a good tip too is, what I tell everybody that I mentor and coach is the RAIN acronym too, because I just really love Tara Brach, but really being able to, in that moment, look at RAIN, which is recognize whatever the emotion is, allow it, have inquiry of it, and then nurture it. Mm-hmm. So what it does is it gives you that space to have enough in between where it isn't on an unconscious level, and you're able to at least do something with it, because recognizing it, you still need to have the skills to look at it in a different way and shift perspective of it. But if you can't look at it with a nurturing eye, you're still looking at the situation from that victimhood of I can't do anything about it. So that RAIN acronym really honors, acknowledges, takes responsibility, but just says, okay, this is what the emotion is right now, takes the power away from it. Allowing it says, all right, this is the shit. It's not liking it or not liking it. It's just allowing the moment of it. The inquiry is, wonder where this is coming from. wonder where the root cause of this, that we can dissipate that. And then with nurturing and compassionate eyes, say, all right, sweetheart, we can let this go. That's not who we are right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And that adds something nice. Thank you for that, Sherry, because now I'll think of my rain stick in a different way. Put the rain in there and, do the recognize, allow, inquiry, nurture with the sound of the rain stick. And for that 8 minutes that it flows.
Beautiful. I really have, I've learned to really like kind of call on my mentors and call on the people that, have affected me and helped me along my path, because it is what Tara Brach does. If you ever listen to a talk with her, she has her knowledge and who she is, but she always brings in the mystics and the poets and she's always telling a story, or she is so beautiful in the way that she speaks. And I love that, because she brings in everyone, past and present. So
yeah, I love that. I don't know too much about her, so I'll have to do more Tara Brach inquiry there, because I don't really follow her too much. I've heard her name a lot, but I don't follow her too much.
Yeah, so just the basics of her. She in our Master of Mindfulness, we talk about her in the radical acceptance piece, because she has a book and she has a theory in radical acceptance.
Ooh, okay. I like radical acceptance. I think we all need a little more radical acceptance.
Yeah, and she followed that up with radical compassion, which is really kind of cool, because it's like, okay, I think she understood after, you get through the presence and awareness. And that, of course, that's our first pillar. And then you come to that radical acceptance, that ability to accept it. But then what do you do with it? So she followed it up with radical compassion, because of course, that's the nurturing part of her RAIN technique. It's like, okay, now we have to be able to look at that in a different lens, with a empathetic or compassionate lens, and that's going to shift our perspective. And
right.
So she's pretty cool. I love her.
I love that.
Yeah, I'd like to pass on cool people that have made an impact for me.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I haven't done too much with her. So I just joined the Shift Network. I don't know if anybody has heard of the Shift Network, but I just, they have a lot of mini courses and like 7 to 12-week courses on just all sorts of different things. So that's maybe something that other people can check out too. They have, I just signed up for a mini course with Eileen McCusick for tuning forks. And, they have all sorts of different classes. It's like $99 a year, but you get access to all these different people and different courses too. So if you guys have never checked that out, that might be a cool place to check out too. Well, good. Okay. Any other things we want to add? Any other things we want to talk about while we're on this little meeting here? Are we feeling good to go? I'm going to post this. I don't know how to post these to upload them into my courses, but this morning I posted the link to my YouTube video from last week, and I'm also going to include the PDF in the comments. So I'm going to put the PDF of this, what we just talked about, in the comment section. So if you guys feel like you want to download that or print it off, if you need any other information, but the course should be uploaded there, hopefully today. Okay. All right. Have another beautiful day training. Thank you. Thank you. California's not my favorite place, but it's, hasn't been so bad. It rained last night, so it cooled off, but it was like 99 degrees when we got here. So, and everybody says, but it's dry. That doesn't make it any better. It's still 100 degrees. I mean, dry or not, 99 is hot. So, thankfully they got a really big storm. They haven't had rain in a long time. And I think right now it's actually only 70 degrees, which is amazing. So we'll take it. We'll take it. All right. Yeah. So, hey, on a personal note, do I just need to Venmo you, baby? Yes.